position in these peace talks, Vice President J.D. Vance. Here he was today being asked a very valid question about when the strait would reopen.
Mr. Vice President, Iran is continuing to block the Straits of Hormuz. Do you have an expectation of when that strait is going to be open?
Well, we've already seen an increase in traffic today. Hopefully we'll see an increase in traffic tomorrow. We actually think that we are seeing signs that the straits is starting to reopen.
Okay. So we've seen an increase in traffic today. That's what the vice president just said. As I mentioned before, Bloomberg reports that just 3 ships were observed leaving the region, at least 2 of which had ties to Iran. Iran is publicly claiming that the strait remains closed. They're continuing, as far as we know, to charge fees to people who want to go through. But J.D. Vance says nothing to worry about. All signs are positive. Then he was asked another perfectly valid question from a reporter about Iran's claim that the U.S. has already violated the agreement.
Tweeted out that 3 of the 10 points in the ceasefire framework have already been violated. They're distrustful of the U.S. What do you make of him tweeting that out before negotiations?
So I thought it was interesting, actually, because I did see that tweet from Ghalibaf actually just a couple of minutes ago. Let me just say this. I actually wonder how good he is at understanding English, because there are things that he said that, frankly, didn't make sense in the context of the negotiations that we've had.
Okay, so just to unpack that one. The Speaker of Iran's parliament said that the U.S. violated the deal, and J.D. Vance's answer was, well, he just needs to brush up on his English. Maybe it was a translation issue. Again, J.D. Vance is the official who is supposed to sit across from the Iranians in these negotiations in just a few days. Now, if you thought that was a reach, just listen to how J.D. Vance tried to explain away the differences between Iran and the U.S. on the question of nuclear enrichment.
The second thing Ghalibaf said, which, again, I found fascinating, is he said, we refuse to give up the right to enrichment. And I thought to myself, you know what? My wife has the right to skydive, but she doesn't jump out of an airplane because she and I have an agreement that she's not going to do that because I don't want my wife jumping out of an airplane.
I have so many questions. Like, what on earth are you talking about? Also, are you saying that you trust the Iranians won't enrich uranium even if they have access, just like you trust your wife won't jump out of a plane? I still don't think it clears anything up. I don't know where that came from. Now, all of this is even more concerning when you consider that J.D. Vance is supposed to be the one voice in the room who actually opposes the war. But as the New York Times reported last night, Vance is apparently too timid to actually do anything about it, aside from, of course, pitch stories about how he privately opposed the war, which he seems to be doing a lot of. When Trump was weighing whether or not to launch this disastrous war, Vance reportedly told the president, you know, I think this is a bad idea, but if you want to do it, I'll support you. Way to be bold. Use your voice there, J.D. That's the extent, as far as we know, of the pushback Trump has gotten from some of his closest advisors as he continues to make one bad decision after another in this conflict. And it's a stark contrast to the kind of pushback Trump reportedly got during his first administration when contemplating military action in Iran. In his book, Peril, legendary journalist, sitting right across from me right now, Bob Woodward, recounted some of the debates Trump had with his first-term advisors on the subject of striking Iran. And he wrote, quote, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and Joint Chiefs Chairman Mark Milley went back and forth like a tag team, underscoring the reasons not to take any military action. Vice President Pence and Acting Defense Secretary Miller seemed to agree that no military action should be taken. Okay, thanks, Trump said. As Milley once said to an advisor, the whole Iran thing comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes. CIA Director Gina Haspel was worried about the lack of a clear decision and called Milley. This is a highly dangerous situation. We're going to lash out for his ego? And later that night, Pompeo called Milley, thanked him for arguing against the strike and emphasizing the downsides. We're all good, Milley said, emphasizing the importance of calm and piling on the metaphors. Just steady, breathe through our noses. Steady as a rock. We're going to land this plane safely. We've got a plane with 4 engines and 3 of them are out. We've got no landing gear, but we're going to land this plane and we're going to land it safely. But this time around, no one is planning to land the plane safely. Everyone in Trump 2.0, or most people, at least that we know about, just seem along for the ride. And now the same people who let Trump get us into this war are bungling their best opportunity to get us out of it. Joining me now is legendary journalist Bob